Hey guys, Ashley here again with Real Buyer Agency and John and Scott Bothell. A few days back, the Northwest MLS publicly released a broad set of market data that ran through the end of April. As such, we can now provide you our monthly market report for May 2020. As has evolved to become our standard format over the last few episodes, there is a little bit of national mortgage data present at the beginning of this update, before we move on to once again focus specifically on the residential real estate markets of King and Snohomish counties, Washington. The data and charts are all queued up, and I'm ready to dive into the analysis. So, let's get started.
Okay, as is becoming standard, we will start this month off by looking at the 30-year fixed mortgage rates produced by Freddie Mac. For most of April, average rates hovered between 3.31% and 3.33%. And then at the very end of April, they actually briefly dropped down to, again, what would be all-time lows. The week ending April 30th at 3.23% on the 30-year fixed, versus our previous all-time low that had come the weekend in March the 5th at 3.29%. Since that time, rates have come back up slightly. Still super low, though, in historical terms, at 3.26% the week ending May the 7th. It does, again, seem like, apart from that outlier we saw at the weekend in March the 19th, for the most part here, we're trending between kind of 3.25 and 3.5%. So still right now, in historical terms, seems to be a great time to get a mortgage rate. I must stress that I am not in any way a mortgage professional or a mortgage advisor, though. And if you're looking at mortgages right now, you definitely should speak to a mortgage professional about that. I have very little concept of what the future outlooks for mortgages is going to be, particularly since it seems that in recent weeks they've become somewhat separated from longer-term bonds. Right then, moving on to the local data, newly active listings chart. We're looking at the green columns here for data that runs through the end of April, and 2,707 newly active listings in King County and 1,224 newly active listings in Snohomish County. In both cases, you can see down month to month, quite a fair bit, and also even more than that year over year. The month-to-month reduction in new listings in King County were down 28.52%. In Snohomish County, being down from 1,542 to the 1,224 marks a reduction of 20.62%. For the month of April year over year in King County, we were down 37.98%, and in Snohomish County, we were down 20.62%. Over to the total active listings. Total active listings King County, 3,255 through April, and Snohomish County had 1,243. In both cases, differently to the newly active listings chart, we can see that in total active listings, there's actually an increase month to month. In King County, up from 2,813. That represents an increase of 15.71%. And in Snohomish County, it's up from 1,060, which represents an increase of 17.26%. Year over year, however, has been the case all year long so far. We had still down 4,624 was last year's total active listings numbers for April. The drop to 3,255 for this year means that year over year there's a percentage decrease of 29.61% in King County. And in Snohomish County, a reduction from 1,554 down to 1,243 represents a reduction of minus 20.01%. Moving on to months of inventory. King County, 1.57 months of inventory. And for Snohomish County, 1.39 months of inventory. Month to month, that's up 36.52% in King County from 1.15 months of inventory at the end of March. And in Snohomish County, that's up 41.84% from 0.98. Looking year over year, pretty comparable in both cases to where we were this time last year in terms of months of inventory, not in terms of total inventory. And just to briefly try to explain this metric again, it's really taking into account current supply versus recent pend-in rates or absorption rates, projecting a theoretical number for how many months it would take before, if no other listings come on, we are completely out of inventory. So there'd be no more properties to sell. So we use this metric as a very simple, quick way to look at the strength of the market in terms of supply and demand. So a standard market would be about 6 months of inventory. Traditionally, that would be considered a balanced market. So you kind of have equal strength from both the buyer's perspective and the seller's perspective. When our numbers are less than 6, that would represent traditionally a seller's market. And when the inverse is true, we would consider that traditionally a buyer's market. The buyer has more leverage in that situation. Sub 6, the seller has more leverage. Anyway, getting back to the data for the end of April, looking at months of inventory, the year-over-year changes. In King County, we're actually down 7.1% from 1.69 to about 1.57. And in Snohomish County, we're up 7.75% from 1.29 at this stage last year to 1.39 this year. So all this really goes to just tell us that through the month of April, demand relative to supply decreased. You can see that being up month to month, 36.52% and 41.84% respectively, means that we went from a point where we had less inventory in relation to supply from last year to now we have something comparable to last year in terms of those metrics. Very similar numbers to last year now, as we can see. But as we've pointed out, these numbers are still considerably below those of what we consider a balanced market. And so you would still, based on these metrics, consider this a very strong seller's market. Median list prices. Okay, the median list price for King County, April this year, was $749,000. And the median list price in Snohomish County was $589,950. This means month to month, King County dropped $10,900 from $759,900 last month. And Snohomish County went up $10,500 from its median of $579,450 in March of this year. Of course, these are just listing prices, not the closing sales prices. They'll be coming up in a second. But interesting to see that as well, if you just look year over year, nearly identical to how it was in April 2019 on the listing price points. $749,000 in King County means an increase of $4,000 in the median over this time last year, and Snohomish is literally like just a few $100 difference on the listing side. And finally, the median closing sales prices for April, King County, that was $650,000. And in Snohomish County, that was $507,500. Month to month, the numbers are fairly static here, up $5,000 in King County and down $1,630 in Snohomish County. But again, these are only median closing sales prices. Data alone, just the way it falls, could account for those differences. So yeah, very, very flat there. But I mean, that's not necessarily a bad sign for sellers because, I mean, technically here, that's the highest median closing sales price for the last 13 months, as you can see in King County. And in Snohomish County, okay, it's down $1,630 off last month, but I mean, that represents being down 0.32%. So, and then, I mean, other than that, as we were talking about last month, these closing sales prices comfortably over $500,000 represent historical highs for Snohomish County. Year over year, King County median closing sales price is up $25,000, which represents a 4% increase, and Snohomish County is up $28,500, which represents approximately a 5.95% increase. Overall, though, looking at these sales prices, you're probably going to be relatively positive whether you're a buyer or a seller right now, because despite the low inventory and all the difficulties of coronavirus, prices did not further escalate in the month of April. And from a seller's perspective, you got to still be positive that neither did they go down. Like I said, in King County here, definitely 13-month highs and possibly historical highs. I'm not sure about that. But in Snohomish County, yep, just a fraction still off last month. So from a seller's perspective, it's still at really, really good price points.
So in summary, for April 2020, the residential real estate markets of both King County and Snohomish County saw a sizable weakening of activity on both the supply side and the demand side. At a time of year where we would normally expect to see substantial month-to-month increases in the number of new listings, this year April saw a sizable reduction in new listings versus March. While new listings were down substantially, both month-to-month and year-over-year, total listings were still slightly up month-over-month, as inventory as a whole was not absorbed at the same high levels that were recorded earlier this year or during April of last year. With this data, we can get our clearest demonstration so far of just how deeply the real estate markets of King and Snohomish counties have been affected by the first few weeks of economic slowdown and industry restrictions that have come about in response to COVID-19. When we stand back a little, we can still see that the market as a whole is currently still very much set in a position which can provide good opportunity to both buyers and sellers. Those potential buyers that have not been impacted dramatically and negatively by the arrival of COVID-19 continue to see extremely attractive and historically low interest rates. Also, a slight lessening of demand and competition amongst buyers recently may serve to provide a little more optimism for buyers in general, in that it slightly increases their chances of getting into contract on any property they may choose to write an offer on. From a seller's point of view, the lower interest rates for buyers alongside a continuation of what is still a very limited inventory versus demand as a whole means that they can continue to hope to achieve top dollar for their properties. As long as both parties are willing to put up with and work through the increased timelines and complexities that come with operating in a period of partial lockdown, real estate transactions can still be successfully initiated, worked through, and completed in a manner that is positive for all involved. Okay guys, that does it for the May market update. As always, please hit the like button if you found this video at all useful, and subscribe on the page or the channel if you wish to be notified of similar future content. Also, please feel free to engage or post any recent questions in the comments section below. And otherwise, until next time, I hope this finds you well. Stay safe out there and have a great one.